Hey.
Hello, is this John Oates?
Yes, it is.
Hey, how you doing today?
Fine, thank you.
Excellent. It's great to have you on. I'll introduce you to my co-host, Ton.
Okay, and I appreciate you guys being flexible on this, and I'm sorry about that this morning.
No problem, John. Thanks for doing it. Thanks for coming through here. And yeah, if you're ready to go, we'll get started.
Yeah, man, I'm ready.
Excellent. Well, I guess everybody knows you, big time hit maker. Tell us about how you started playing music, how you got into it all.
Well, I think I guess I was born into it in some way. When I was a little kid, I began to sing as soon as I could talk, sang little children's songs and things like that. And I guess my parents recognized that I had some musical talent. And when I got to be about 5 or 6 years old, I took accordion lessons, and I didn't really like it that much. So I asked for a guitar, and they got me a guitar, and I've just been playing ever since. So, I've been singing and took vocal lessons, took a few guitar lessons as a little kid, kind of got me going. And I was pretty much self-taught as I got older, and until I got, it got to be about 18 years old, and then when I moved to Philadelphia, I met a guy who became my guitar teacher, my mentor, and introduced me to a lot of traditional folk music, and introduced me personally to a lot of the great traditional American performers like Doc Watson and Mississippi John Hurt, who used to come and stay at his house when they were in Philadelphia. And so and then I was watching R&B shows and listening to all the great R&B radio in Philadelphia. So it's really just this combination of American roots music and R&B that really kind of informs what I do.
Well, yeah, you mentioned playing from an early age, and you met Daryl Hall pretty early on, I think, and you guys have really been together ever since.
Yeah, I was playing guitar, like I said, from 6 years old until about 18 or 19 before I met Daryl. So I had a whole thing that I was doing. He had a whole thing he was doing. So when we came together, I think the place where we came together musically was in the R&B. We both had a love of R&B, and we both knew it and understood it, and it liked the same kind of music. So that was the kind of the foundation. And Daryl brought a little bit more, for me, I learned, some more sophisticated. He was more classically trained, so I learned a little bit from him on that level, and he learned a little bit from me on the roots level, on the American roots music and traditional folk stuff that I was doing, and we kind of blended all that together.
Yeah, and you guys, just as you're mentioning, you were able to really stick to that, even though at the time, that new wave craze was really coming into effect. And did you feel like pressured or anything from labels to try to move that direction?
No, we were involved. We were living in New York City when all that stuff happened, punk and new wave. We were absorbing it all because we were going out to hear bands like Patti Smith and Television and and New York Dolls, and we were seeing that was all around us. We were like in the middle of it, so we absorbed it and we kind of used elements of it in our own music, but we never really tried to be anything that we weren't. We tried to stay original and be who we were, but there was elements of the, especially from the production point of view, and the technology. We used a lot of synthesizers and electronic music early on, even in the early 70s. And then in the 80s, when sampling and digital, technology became available, we integrated that into what we were doing as well.
Well, there was a time there, it seems like you guys had, at least one song in the top 40 for, probably about 2 decades or more. Did you think, as that little boy with the accordion, that someday that would kind of be where you wound up?
It's funny. We never really had these long-term, grandiose plans. That was not something we cared about. We cared about our long-term plan was how do we live a life and have a career as musicians and sustain it and keep it going. That's all we cared about. Money and popularity and hits, they were a means to an end. They were really just a thing that could allow us to stay as musicians and do what we love to do. And that's really, and when we made our decisions, whether it were business decisions or creative decisions, they were always based on that. And people always, I think there's a lot of big misconception that, we were just, we were in it for the big number one records and we were all about the success and the popularity. But it's the exact opposite was true, and people don't really understand that about us.
Now, we've got to ask, John, you were part of the We Are the World recording, which is a huge really awesome thing. Do you have any memories you can share of that time and just making that song?
Oh yeah, I have a lot of memories of it. It was an amazing night. You know, it was a night that maybe it would never happen again. You know, in that way, because in those days, you know, it was actually the night after the American Music Awards in Los Angeles. So, you know, there weren't as many award shows, and there weren't all these big TV shows, and it was, you know, there was basically the Grammys and the American Music Awards, and they were the only two. So it was very smart of Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie to plan their recording session for We Are the World right after that, because they knew that pretty much every popular artist who was, you know, of the time was going to be at the American Music Awards. And so after the American Music Awards were over, everyone just went to the studio. And so, you know, I recall it very well because I was standing in the group in the center. If you ever want to dig up the picture of that night, I was in the center of the big giant group, and right in front of me to my lower left was Ray Charles, and right behind me was Bob Dylan. I'm standing there going, man, this is pretty freaking cool. So, I was very aware of it right when it was happening, and it was, it was amazing to hear all those amazing voices all singing at the same time. You know, it was cool because there were no managers and agents and hangers-on or press agents or anybody involved. It was just the artist in the room, and that was a rule that they made as well. No one was allowed in the room except the people who were actually performing. And it made it really cool because everyone was very friendly.
Yeah, you mentioned something like that probably would never be able to take place nowadays. And
no, I don't think so.
We want to ask you, you mentioned you guys kind of just doing what you want and not really being worried about top 40 hits and that sort of thing. And we really loved your Christmas stuff that you did in that video for Jingle Bell Rock. Was that just kind of something you guys wanted to do and just see how it went? Or?
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to make a Christmas song. It was really casual. It wasn't, nothing we do is that thought out, believe me. We just wanted to do it. We wanted to have some fun with it. So we dressed up the band like a crazy Christmas family. And of course, our manager played Santa Claus, which was a, kind of poetic metaphor there. It was just something we just had some fun with.
Yeah, it definitely showed for sure, and that's still every Christmas time you see that on, so that's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you mentioned teaming up with Daryl Hall when you were still a teenager. You guys now considered, I think, by a lot of people, the most successful, duo in pop music. So is there kind of a secret to being able to stay together so long and not, get on each other's nerves after all these years?
Well, yeah, there's a couple techniques. One is live about 2,000 miles apart. The other thing is we get together to play, and we do it frequently. We play all the time. We tour, like last year, we did over 60 or 70 shows together. But what we do is we do it in short bursts. We'll go out for like 2 days. We'll go out for maybe a week, maybe 10 days at the most. And it's great. It's just enough to keep the band well oiled. We enjoy playing the old songs. People love them. People are still coming out to see us. In fact, we're probably bigger now than we were back in the 80s, as crazy as it seems. But at the same time, we take plenty of time off. And during those times off, we do our individual projects, which keeps our creative juices and keeps us excited and stimulated. And then when we come back together, it's not boring. So it's really about balancing, like I do my solo albums. I just did a DVD called Another Good Road, which just came out. Daryl's got his TV show. And all those things, we're constantly reaching out to other people, working with other people. It's a learning process. It's always a matter of, finding new inspiration in different ways, and that's what it's all about.
That's great. Now, I got to ask, John, this could be thought of as a little bit controversial, but it's coming back around these days. We got to touch on the facial hair. You had one of the most fantastic mustaches of all time. Do we still have the stash, or what's going on with it?
We got a modern version of it that's attached to a goatee.
Yeah, so, beautiful. I got to say, it's hilarious. When we said we were talking to you, like everyone that we talked to in the studio, they all, are you going to ask him about his mustache? Everyone has.
My mustache is going to outlive me, I have a feeling.
Yeah.
One of these days when I'm long gone, I won't even have a face left. It'll just be this floating mustache.
Oh, that's great.
Well, you guys, obviously, you and your mustache both went into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so, of course, you'll be remembered forever. How important was that when you mentioned, you guys just did it for the music and aren't worried about the accolades, but is still something like that important to you guys?
Well, yeah, I mean, anytime you're acknowledged, for an achievement, for especially like a lifetime's worth of music, is important. Of course it's important. But I have to be honest with you, to be totally honest, we got inducted into the American Songwriters Hall of Fame back in 2005. And that, to me, was way more important. Because the truth of the matter is, if you really think about it from a logical point of view, if we didn't write the songs that we wrote, we would not be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Sure.
So getting inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame and to be included in this great pantheon of incredible American songwriters that goes all the way back to George Gershwin and Cole Porter and the people from the Brill Building like Lieber and Stoller and Carole King and Jerry Goffin and people like that. Phil Spector. When you're in that kind of company, that's a pretty that's for me personally as a songwriter, that means a lot. So, like I said, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was a great thing, but the American Songwriters Hall of Fame was even better for me.
And you, I guess over the recent years, you've been releasing some solo albums. Has that been a nice kind of change of pace for you since dealing with the partnership for so many years?
Well, Daryl released solo albums as early as in the mid 1970s. I didn't really want to squeeze solo albums into a very, very busy career that we had going. And in the 90s, when we slowed down a little bit, I actually dropped out a bit for a while, and I wanted to start a family, build a house, have a kid, do all the things that I kind of missed during the 70s and 80s. So during the 90s, I really spent more time on myself in terms of just my personal life. I moved to Colorado. I kind of restructured my life in a way, and came out of it really wanting to do something new. And I moved to Nashville and began to be involved with a lot of roots and Americana musicians, and kind of in a way kind of rediscovered my past of the the influences like I spoke about earlier before I met Daryl, and that's really become my solo career. I've gone back to my past to kind of to find myself in today's world. So it's been a lot of fun for me. It's a very comfortable place for me. I'm very comfortable in that genre of music, and I work with a lot of really interesting, incredible musicians. And I write songs with them, and like I'm writing a song tomorrow with Keb Mo, I just every day is like a different day, and you get all these incredible, inspiration from all these unique people. So having my solo career has really been a re-inspiration.
Yeah, that's awesome for sure. And we know you mentioned the new album and the DVD, Another Good Road, and you're writing new stuff. So can we expect some other upcoming projects or a new album maybe?
Well, within the last 2 years, I put out two projects.
Sure.
Good Road to Follow, which was a 3 EP set, which I put out about almost 2 years ago now, and the Another Good Road, the DVD, which is really an extension of that music. It's just kind of live version with some new songs, and it's of course a DVD. So I've got two projects out within 2 years. That's a lot of music, and I'm going to play that music for a while, and in the meantime, I'm constantly writing songs, so you never know where it's going to go.
Awesome. Well, yeah, it's great to hear that you're still out there doing what you love, and it's been an honor having you on today.
All right, man. Hey, thanks a lot, and I appreciate you guys being flexible on that. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, we'll see you.